You were going to tell me about a new project that you have going on?
Well, there's a couple of things going on. I think I might have mentioned Live in Japan. Did I do that?
You did, yes.
A guy approached me from Omnivore. Are you familiar with that label?
Yes, I've heard of it.
And he likes obscure, weird stuff. So he wants to. He actually came to our gig on the weekend. He said, "Do you happen to have all of your fans want stuff in between? They've got all the hits. They want the stuff in between the hits. Do you have any Iron Horse, um, Union, your other bands?" I said, "Well, here's what happened. We had a Brave Belt 1 and 2 on Warner Brothers. We started to cut Brave Belt 3. Well, we were cutting it, and we had the bag made, the beautiful leather bag, which was phenomenal because it would hold an album. This was going to go to all the guys because then promotion guys went from radio station to station with these leather bags. They wouldn't fit in a briefcase, so we had this bag made 12 and a half inches square. And so if you look at Brave Belt 2, it's a beautiful leather case. We had 50 of those made. As we sent them to the warehouse in LA, Reprise dropped us. Don Schmitzerly left. Mo Austin left. We were just an abandoned project. Nobody went and got those leather bags. I had Brave Belt 3 started. No deal. Came back home, started to revamp it. I was told Brave Belt's a stupid name. Nobody knows what it is. Put your name in there. Put the Bachmans in there. People recognize your name. You need radio recognition. There was 3 Bachmans and a Turner, so we did that. So that worked out to be really well. So hold on, I'm trying to shut off my stupid thing. So now what has happened? Then we went back to Winnipeg, and it was the same thing with the guests who we would go back home, and they'd be so excited. It's like the BBC. CBC Radio would let us set up, they'd have a concert, and they'd record it. So I have a bunch of songs that are Brave Belts that we were going to put on the third album. A lot of them became BTO1. I have the first demos of that, which I just got from CBC, and they're all at CBC pretty good engineers, right? They're like BBC, uh, pretty good stuff. But so when you're getting a DAT of this or digital, and you run it through AI, wow! You pull out the drums, you pull out the lead vocal, you can kind of remix, rebalance your song because TV then was a little 4-inch round speaker or a 6x9 speaker, and so you boosted the bass like Biondo, so it could come out of the little TV thing. So these things have real heavy bass. So what I've done is remix these. I've got maybe 10 or 11 of these, and it's songs that are on BTO1, but it's a slightly different version, different tempo, different key, different solos. So I told him I'm working on that. He said, "Great, when you get it done, uh, we'll talk about it. Put it on an Omnivore." I said, "Great." Now I just found the same thing, about 14 songs from the television show The Guess Who Did in 1969. There was a series of albums put out of the red album, which is Shake All Over, the blue one, which is Hey Ho, the green one, which is It's Time, um, a purple one this time long ago, and kind of a salmon colored one that was called Let's Go. Now I found one, and I found the photographs from the guy in Winnipeg. We're calling it Snapshots. I just got it yesterday, and it's us doing the first version of These Eyes, the first version of Friends of Mine, Daydream Believer, um, Along Comes Mary, other stuff we would do on the television show. But the guy was encouraging us to do our own songs. And if they were good enough to fit in between the Beach Boys and the Stones and the Beatles, we could do it on the show. So there's a whole thing coming out now. This will be on True North Records, and I just saw the artwork yesterday, and it's really cool. We got all old snapshots from 68, 69. That's very much like the Monkees, us in the snow, leaning against each other, doing crazy things. I mean, the Monkees were a big thing then, as was Help and Hard Day's Night. Uh, so I have those projects like are working, coming out.
That's great. That's great. I'd love to get my hands on them when
Uh, they'll be
they.
re- they'll be ready soon.
Yeah, I'd love to review it, and of course, I'd love to hear it. That's great. That's like all kinds of hidden gems and things.
Right.
that the fans have never heard before. How long have you been working on that?
Well, I've been saving my junk, as people call it, my stuff, for 50 years. My father started with a little wind up camera that had 8 millimeter film. Then it went to a battery one. Then it went to high eight or super eight. Then it went to VHS, Betamax, VHS. I've got all those formats. I still have the machines. So if we were going to a television show in Germany or something, they would give us a tape. TV had a VHS then, which is a great big tape where the big U thing came out. I've still got all those. So my grandson, who's a computer genius, he's about 22 or 23. He just graduated from University of Lethbridge, where he was doing all of their computers and all of their marketing. He's now here going through literally hundreds of boxes of mine from the late or the early 60s right up to now. Stuff is from Italy and Germany, where we were over there and somebody we recorded a show, somebody gave you the format. It's PAL, which you can't even play here. So he gets a PAL machine on and from Amazon or something, and we play it and digitize it. So I'm going to have a website very soon that's going to be better than Neil Young's, where you go to it, you will be a gold member, a platinum member, a diamond member. You have access to everything I did in 72, 76, 81, Iron Horse, stuff that was taken in the studio, me recording in Richard Perry's with Burton, uh, with Toto, who was our backup band. Pointer Sisters were singing on our albums. It was an incredible time. So we've got all that. It's all being put together and we're sorting it out.
Toto was your backup band?
Yeah, they were like the studio band.
Wow.
They backed Bus Gags and Silk Degrees, but I didn't need Steve Lukather because I'm a guitar player.
Right.
So I had Jeff Porcaro, David Page. I think their father, who's a Porcaro as well, doing percussion, and the big guy who plays keyboard. I think his name David something. I'm not sure. So I had all these guys backing us up. It was great.
Well, this is pretty big news.
So we've got all that stuff.
This is great. This is really great news.
Oh, cool.
I'd love to premiere it at Goldmine.
Oh, good. I will make sure.
Yeah, so will I. So will I.
And I just got my studio up. I spent a great deal of money. I moved into a new place, so we've now soundproofed a gatehouse, totally soundproof. Put in drums, put in live, stuff to record live and do YouTube live. And I just put in a big solid state Logic 24 track computerized board to work in with Pro Tools. I've saved all my stuff from the 70s, all my LA2As, my 1176s, my Fairchild compressor, which is the greatest thing in the world. And running this stuff through that, it just gives it an extra warmth and harmonic, and then digitizing it and doing it. And whether it's good or not, it's great because it's all that exists. So I'm doing the best I can with what I've got, but it's quite amazing what AI allows you to do, which is what you saw with the Beatles thing.
Yeah, you're so knowledgeable about gear. How did you develop this almost an encyclopedic knowledge of the technology?
Well, I always had the interest in that stuff, and when we went to New York in 1965 to do the Kingsman Louie Louie tour, that was kind of like weekends. So during the week, we would go to Scepter Records, which is I think 354 West 54th Street there, and record and do an album. And the songwriters who would come to pitch songs were Bacharach and David, who were pitching stuff to Dionne Warwick. She was on Scepter Records. We were on Scepter Records. Ashford and Simpson, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Solid as a Rock.
Sure.
They were there as high school kids. They'd play hooky every Friday and come down and play the piano and sing us songs. It was amazing. And at the time, I met Dionne Warwick's guy, Phil Ramone. And I would get invited to his studio and watch him. And he'd let me go in the corner. He would take me home at night to his apartment. He'd play me jazz records, Red Norvo, Trio, and all this cool jazz. He really liked jazz, even though he was a great pop and rock producer. So then I got into his gear and everything that he had. And when you are a guy like me and you have a big family, you have to have a home studio or you're never, ever home. When BTO was touring, we did for 3 years over 300 gigs a year.
That's incredible.
So you do a 90-day tour. You have about a week off, maybe 10 days. You're gone. Daddy is gone. Daddy's home. Daddy's gone. Another tour. There was no videos then. There was no merch. You had to go city to city, radio station to radio station, play, kiss ass, whatever you had to do to get airplay, all that stuff. Do favors for everybody. Play free in their radio station promotion things, and be seen by everybody. So like we did what we had to do at that time, and we came through the morass of rock and roll and payola and all that kind of crappy stuff, and had hit records, and never ever gave in and moved to the States. We stayed in Winnipeg. We'd always go home, which we felt kept us grounded. You go home, you're hanging with your guys you used to play hockey with or go to little league baseball games with. Um, you're eating your grandmother's food, your Baba's pierogies and holopshi and stuff and whatever, her borscht and all that stuff. Uh, it's like really comfort stuff. You need comfort stuff because on the road everything is strange and different. When I get a holiday now, all I want to do is stay home because every day I get up and it's the same thing. And I'm Bill Murray with Groundhog Day. I love the same thing every day. Get up at 8, do some stretching, ride my bike, go to Aquafit, come home, work on some songs. Do you know what I mean? Do that kind of thing. On the road, you get up too early, too late. You can't sleep well. The air conditioning doesn't work. That's a bad bed. Guys are partying next to you. You can't sleep. And it just wears you down. So I always had a home studio and I had an incredible home studio. I had a Trident A range board, 48 channels that I had guys from England coming, and I had to get Dennis Mackay from England to run the board because he worked with Ken Scott over there at Trident Studios. So I had this gigantic, beautiful Trident A range board. There's only 13. They made 12, but they made one more for Warner Brothers. So it had W7 on it, and they had it made in England. And when they brought it here to the lot in Burbank, they plugged everything in, and they didn't realize that in England they have a positive ground, and here we have a negative ground. So when they plugged this board in, all you got was a hum, 60-second or 90-second hum on everything, and then they ran all the lines underground. There, in Burbank, they're all run underground, like in sewers, all underground. And when the lines would cross each other, they would get crosstalk. So in the middle of recording, they would be getting Bugs Bunny, Mel Blanc doing Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck voices in your record. So Warner Brothers called me and said, "You called to get a Trident board. We will sell you ours at a cut rate. We can't use it." So I bought the Trident board. It was phenomenal. Then it went to Richie Podlor in L.A., and then it went to the Robb brothers, who had many Trident boards at their studio at Cherokee. But I kept on my good stuff. You got a good limit. I know this is true about Rod Stewart. Way back, I think it was for Maggie May. He got this mic. I think it's a Neumann 67 that somehow enhanced the huskiness of his voice, the little rasp. And when he heard it back, he said, "I want this mic. It's not for sale." Okay, thank you. I want this mic. I want the cable. I want the preamp. I want the amp. I want the compressor. I want this. What do you want for it? It's not for sale. Let me replace myself. How much do you want for this? And he bought it. He takes it with him to every session. That's his voice sound. So when I would get a certain sound on a guitar or guitar amp, or my American Woman sound on a guitar, you want to get the same limiter, the same mic. You want to recreate that sound. Just like knowing that George Harrison played a Rickenbacker on a certain song, you're not going to try to get that song out of a Stratocaster. You're going to go get a Rickenbacker. I mean, go to the source and copy what they use as their raw material, do it, and then you're close. You're already close in the ballpark. Then you got to put your own identity in it. So I saved all this gear for years and years and years.
So you have that Neumann 67 still?
I lost it in a divorce.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's it's
I have a funny story about that. I
it's
was
in
over
mine's in L.A. at my ex-wife's house, who uses it for fun, and I won't get it until she passes away.
Oh, that's sad. Yeah, I was on a tour with Capitol Records a few
Yeah.
years back, and they had a Neumann 67 there that Frank Sinatra had used during
Wow.
all his Capitol sessions. And
Yeah.
guess who comes in and loves the mic, sang through it, wanted to buy it? None other than Barbara Streisand.
Wow.
She offered them millions of dollars for it, and they wouldn't part with it. It's still there.
Wow.
Yeah, those are just so so collectible.
So I've got a couple of real collectible things. Um, I had a very good friend when I lived in Linden, Washington. His name was Larry Knechtel. He was a keyboard player. He played piano on Bridge over Troubled Water. He played bass with Bread, and he was an LA musician and national musician. But he lived near me in Linden, Washington. And he said he was in Sunset Sound when they had bought a whole bunch of new stuff and they were throwing away all their old stuff. So he brings me this Shure mic, and he said, "Mamas and Papas use this, and the Beach Boys and everything for all their hits in the early '60s and all through the '60s." And they gave it to me, and I don't need it anymore. I'm going through a divorce. You can have this mic. So many years later, I had the mic. I went to a NAMM show, and I went to the booth, and I said to these guys, "I have this mic. It's number so and so. We got it from Larry Knechtel." They said, "Impossible." And I said, "No, you got to check it out." They did. They said, "Yes, this is the mic from Sunset Sound. This is the mic." I said, "It doesn't really work well. Can I send it to you guys?" They said, "Sure." So I sent it to them, and I think they faxed me back. This was way before internet, and said, "We checked out your mic. It is fantastic. It's totally wrecked. For us to rebuild it would cost you so much money. But as a promotion deal, we're going to fix it up to be brand new and gift it to you." And I went, "Wow, incredible." So I have this wonderful mic that when you plug it, you don't need any EQ. You just put that up, and it's got this one, just like Barbra Streisand wanting that mic. Suddenly it's just, boom, this is my vocal. This is what I want. I also have a big gold that looks like a weird triangle RCA mic, and it's gold, and it's from Gene Autry's studio in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He had a radio station there. I've got pictures of him using that, and it's a big RCA, and it's gold plated, and Elvis used that as well. So I have all these incredible mics that you don't need a 67 anymore because I don't have a good voice. I just want a weird voice, something that's distinctive, right? So I also get Radio Shack bullet mics to sing it to them. It does something cool to your voice. It sticks out in the track. So I have all this gear, and I think tomorrow I start to listen to BTO live. We've got 4 shows there, 2 in Nagoya, 2 at the Budokan, listening to the songs, and I could pick which performance I like. We did the same set every night, and just work on that and get them going, get them up there.
Wow, that's great. I hope Sledgehammer's in there.
It is. It is.
One of my
Our,
favorites.
our set list was Give It Time, Sledgehammer, Candy Dancer, Give Me Your Money, Please, Blue Collar. He had everything in there. It was really great.
That's great. And I wanted to ask you, we did some Guess Who songs earlier. I wanted to ask you about some of the BTO songs and some of the
Sure.
meanings of those if we have time. Let It Ride. I always wondered this. Was this somehow inspired by the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin? They sound very, very similar. You can almost mix the two songs.
Really? I didn't know that. Which song by Zeppelin?
The Immigrant Song. Dun, 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 dun. It's got this
Oh,
that
oh,
same galloping.
that galloping part. Well, when I was leaving behind Brave Belts, because they said this is going nowhere. Brave Belt 1 is a phenomenal album. We had violin, accordion, pedal steel, mandolin. We were Crosby, Stills, Nash and Poco. Do you know what I mean? We were like harmonies and really great stuff. It went nowhere. People didn't expect it from me. I couldn't be a second-rate Guess Who. I couldn't outdo Burton's great voice. I did something completely opposite. We started to change a bit because Chad Allen left again. Fred Turner came in with a heavier voice, so we became Brave Belt 2. And we just got heavier and heavier and heavier. And so I'm trying to, and when you go to play a dance and nobody dances, you're bombing. So what do we do to get them up dancing? You play Brown Sugar, Jumping Jack Flash, Proud Mary, Day Tripper. You play songs that, talking rock and roll songs that everybody dances to. Let's write songs like that. And that was inspired by, as was You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet, by Dave Mason, Only You Know and I Know, the jangling rhythm in the chorus. And then I thought, I'm going to do really light verses and suck everybody in. It's going to start with a really great guitar riff, which is basically I stole from Anton Dvorak's Piano Concerto in D. Right, I read that John Lennon would listen to classical music and get inspired, and sometimes play them backwards. I get the music, I put the chords backwards. So I go out and I buy for $1.49 the Anton Dvorak album, which is like one whole side, and then the other whole side is like symphony. And there's nothing there. It's very boring. It gets to the end. The piano goes da 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 da. It repeats it. I go, wow, I'll put chords to this. What are the chords? D A da 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 da. I'll do this little riff like the Doobie Brothers thing. And when I was doing that, the Doobie Brothers were sharing our dressing room in Mardi Gras at the warehouse with Don Fox. And I'm doing this riff, and they're listening to my riff, and they wrote Long Train Running or something like that, just like it. So we're driving to New Orleans, and we're having trouble with a trucker. They've cut us off on the road. They boxed us in, and our license plate says Friendly Manitoba. We're driving an American Motors wagon, and we're boxed in 3 semi-trailers, and they're going about 50 miles an hour. Speed limit then was 75. And they've got us boxed in. And they're playing a game. They're talking on their CB radios. How friendly are these Canadians? And how friendly are these guys from Friendly Manitoba? This goes on and on and on. Finally, one of them takes an exit. We need gas, so we take an exit. Turner and I are the big guys. We're going to go have a word with this trucker and tell him what a jerks they all are. This guy gets out of his car. He's gigantic. Out of his cab. He's gigantic. So we don't rant and rail on this guy. We're very polite. Excuse me, sir. What you guys are doing there is very unsafe. It's very da da da. And he says, well, we're just having a game with you, friendly Canadian. We're testing you guys to see how friendly you are. It's no big deal, buddy. Why don't you let it ride? I look at Fred and go, what does that mean? I mean, this is like 1972. He goes, I think it's a trucker thing, like, chill out, man. Just let it ride. I go, okay. We get to our dressing room. I say, hey, Fred, listen, I got this Anton Dvorak thing. Da, 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 da. Goodbye. Would you let it ride? Let's put let it ride on there. And then that'll be a real jangly kind of thing. And let's make the verse real heavy. Let's drop the F sharp. And I guess you're right. It is kind of like the immigrant song.
Interesting. What
But
about
then we come out of it and go right back into the nice jangling thing. And the ending was a mistake because the song ended. I looked at the band and I started to play it again. And we came in. So that ending is a complete mistake. But it was fantastic where the song stops and picks up again. We do that little coda tag on the end. A lot of this stuff just happened from being live in the studio, playing it, and just whatever happened, I let it happen.
interesting? What about the stutter? And you ain't seen nothing yet. Did that have something to do with someone in your family?
Yeah, my brother Gary had a stuttering and stammering problem. I was the oldest of 4 boys. So I had 3 younger brothers, and all we did growing up, I don't know if you had any brothers, even if you have a sister, you play tricks on each other. You short sheet the bed, you tie their sneakers in a knot, you hide one of their socks, whatever you do, you tease each other, you play tricks on each other. So when we were going to do the BTO album, and I would always have a work song that I would play that would have a nice jangly guitar verse and a real heavy chorus. And that way I'm getting heavy power chords, a drum sound, a bass sound. I would crawl around the engineer, placing the mic, play the song, go in and listen, go, okay, that's the sound for this album. And then we'd keep that sound for every single song. We cut BTO live. We did like a song a day and did it in a week. And I wanted to tease my brother one last time and stutter my way through this song. And this is how he spoke actually and stuttered, and mix one copy on a cassette and send it to him. We had already finished the album, the Not Fragile album. Charlie Fatch, who was the head of Mercury Records, flies in. He's dying to hear a single. He's on BTO2. We've got Let It Ride and Taking Care of Business, and he wants another single to get us on top 40 radio. We play him the whole album. He goes, wow, I love Rolling Down the Highway. I love Sledgehammer. I like this song. I like that song. I don't hear a song to take you higher. And the engineer says, play him the throwaway song. And Charlie says, what? Is there another song? I say, no, no, no. It's a lousy song. I don't even know what it's about. I'm just making these lyrics up about meeting my wife, right? And I'm starting to tease my brother, and it's a bad Van Morrison impression in the end. And the guitar's not even tuned up yet. The guitar's out of tune. It's terrible. So we play him the track, and he loves it. And I say, you got to be kidding, Charlie. He said, no. I said, the album's done. There's 4 songs on the side. It's classic rock. 420, 440. You've got 22 minutes aside. We can't get this extra song on. I'll tell you what. Get your 4 short songs, put them on one side, add this song. It'll be the first B2 album with the 9th song, and put the 4 long ones on the other side. He puts it on the album. Radio starts to play it. It goes to #1 in 22 countries. It's a #1 song in the summer of 75, I think. And it's baffling to me. And then I got an award about 10 years ago from the American Stuttering Association that said they thought this was a really good song, not pointing fun at, but celebrating my brother. And when this came out, my brother stopped stuttering, and
Wow.
I got this award, and this song won over Benny and the Jets, My Generation. Um, Too much time on my hand. It won over every other stuttering song, so that was like a really cool thing.
That's funny. I think McLean and McLean used to have a thing about that. They used to call it speech impediment rock
Oh
on one of
yeah,
their albums.
oh
I'm sure you're probably familiar with those guys.
yeah. Burton hung out with him for years.
Oh, it was Burton. Okay. Um, who was Hey You about?
That was about Burton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I left the band, he said I'm never going to make it. Being straight, he was into all kind of weird shit, all kind of drugs and everything. And when it got to the point where Not Fragile was number one album and you ain't seen nothing yet number one single, that's when he quit the Guess Who, and that's when I did Hey You. And I said, Hey you say you want to change the world? It's all right with me. I have no regret. It's my turn. The circle of game has brought me here, and I won't let down till every sun is set. You realize now you should have tried now. The music's gone now. You left it somehow. Hey you, na 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 na. Hey you, na 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 na. And in the end, I go, but baby, it's too late. She's come undone. She's come undone. There's no time. There's no time. I quote every Guess Who song at the end of Hey You, and
Always wondered.
not many people know that, but I guess now they will know it.
Always wondered about that. That's funny. Yeah, I guess there's that whole up and down relationship with you and Burton over the years. Although now, I guess you're pretty united in this whole thing that you're doing. I think he's moved back to Canada, moved up to Moose Jaw.
Yeah, he lives in the jaw.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned getting a Rickenbacker and doing George Harrison, and the last time I spoke to you was actually by George by Bachman.
Oh yeah,
How did that do?
it didn't do too well because people didn't like reinterpreting Beatles songs. I didn't like trying to do Paperback Writer or whatever better than the Beatles. You can't. They had a magic of clashing and smashing together, and this magic that came out. So it did pretty well. I mean, it got me attention with Donnie Harrison and Olivia, and with Jeff Lynne, and I really liked doing it. It was a lot of fun. It came out of nowhere because I was invited to John Lennon's 75th birthday in Liverpool and went to that. My friend owned the rights to Let It Be. So Let It Be was opening the day before John's birthday. Then we went to John's birthday party. His half sister came and gave everybody his glasses and a little brownie because he didn't like birthday cake. I still have the brownie frozen with walnuts in it. And it was just a thrill to be there in Liverpool, my first time there. Staying at their Hard Rock Cafe in the John and Yoko room. It's amazing. Then I come home and I go, well, John turned 75. George was the youngest Beatle. I wonder when he turned 75 or 70. I'm not sure what it was. I'm just going to get every George Harrison song and see if I could reinvent it and make it really, really cool. I just listened to it a little while ago. Two or three of the songs are really, really fantastic. The rest are that throwaway. I could see why people didn't like some of it, but it was a big challenge and a lot of fun.
You know, I loved it, and I especially loved there was one song on it, "You Like Me Too Much." It had it had you and your jazz sensibility, that
Yeah,
wonderful sound that you have,
yeah,
with a song that really didn't get a lot of airplay. It's really a deep track. I
right.
thought it was better than the original. I loved it.
Wow, thank you. Well, my manager messed up on that too. I had a manager who's not with me, obviously. Uh, I said to him, look, we have a whole year to set this up. I want to go back to Liverpool for George Harrison's birthday and rent the Liverpool Institute where Paul McCartney has his thing there, right? Where they go to school. Rent the auditorium and hold 1,200 people. Then I want to go the next night and rent Royal Albert Hall. I'm interesting. You can't do this. Yes, you can. Joe Bonamassa rents out all the time with this man. You book the hall. You put down $2,500, whatever. You book the hall. You put tickets on your website, or you get somebody to sell your ticket. He wouldn't do it. So what I ended up doing, I went and played BB King's in New York. It was kind of cool. It's kind of fun. Um, Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I had a great time doing my heavy blues album. I love doing that. Writing a song every day with Kevin Shirley pushing me on, and having a girl drummer and a girl bass player who played like John Entwistle and who played like Keith Moon. It was fantastic. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that the George Harrison album. Didn't get more airplay. I thought it was great.
Well, thank you.
Maybe I should. I have a friend that does a show called Breakfast with the Beatles. I wonder if he's heard of it.
Is that Ken Dashow?
Chris Carter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Chris
Send it,
Carter.
send it to him. George's birthday's coming up in next February.
I would send him mine, but you signed it, so I'll get his address for you,
Okay,
and I'll tell him about it because I just did a story on him.
great.
Um, let's see, what else do we have here? I think you pretty much. Oh, there's one thing. We do something called 10 albums that changed my life, and you named the albums,
Yeah.
but I was wondering if I could get a little bit more information. What we do is we name the album, how it changed your life, and how it came to your attention. So I've got your
Well,
list here.
Elvis came to my attention the day I quit violin. I went to try out for the Winnipeg Junior School Symphony for second violin. I was pretty good on violin. I'm 14 at the time. I'm there to try. This is at Neil Young's High School on the other side of Winnipeg, and there's 80 kids trying out. I'm going to be second violin. And when there's a string quartet, there's two violins, a viola, and a cello. We start to play a song, and suddenly there's tap, 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 and everybody stops. And the conductor says, second violin, bar 32, it's an E flat. Let's take it from the top. I don't know what he's talking about. We start from the top. We play it again. We get the same place. I play the same mistake. You go tap, tap, tap. Bar 32. Can you play an E? Yes. It's an open string on the violin. Can you play an F? Yes. It's position one. Can you play an E flat? No. You can't go any lower than that little string. I didn't realize the string before it, you build your way up to. I didn't know that. I played by ear. And I had a teacher that would put this thing in front of me by Chopin or Mozart or something, and she would play it. I'd say, listen to this. And I'd look at it, and the notes are going up and down. That gives you a clue. But I don't know that looking at that note, it's the second fret, second space, it's an A, and it's an A on the violin. I didn't know that stuff. I just played by ear. So and then everybody's laughing at me at the symphony. I go home and I say to my mother, I'm quitting violin. I'm never playing it again. The next day, her sister comes over, who's 10 years younger than her, and they put on television, and Elvis is on. And I go, what is that? Why are you screaming? Look at this guy, it's Elvis Presley. When I first heard the name Elvis Presley, that's a very weird name. I think way back then, everybody's Jimmy and Johnny and, you know what I mean, Billy Sue and Peggy Sue and everything. Elvis Presley is a strange name. And I fall in love with the magic of Elvis. Then I realized it's his guitar player, it's Scotty Moore, playing all this stuff. And I had a guy, Lenny Bro, who taught me to play that stuff. So I jumped right into guitar, playing fingerstyle guitar. And once you can play that, everything else is kind of easy because you're playing with all your fingers and all different chords and bass notes and everything. It's really easy to play with one pick and do a little lead stuff like that. So I was very fortunate to be in that position. So then I got the first Elvis album, which is black and white with the big ELVIS and pink or something.
Yeah.
And all the songs in there, some of them were songs my parents used to sing. They were kind of like honky tonk country people when they were at a family party. And I knew some of the songs. So then I would play the songs. And then somebody says to me, why do you like Elvis? Because Tutti Frutti is the wildest thing I've ever heard. It's fantastic. The guy comes out and he looks great. And he goes, oh, womp bombaloo. And they say, have you heard Little Richard? And I say, who? Little Richard. What is it, some little kid? No. He's the Black Elvis. He wrote Tutti Frutti. He's the guy Elvis is copying. What do you mean? He did Rip It Up, Ready Teddy, Tutti Frutti. Elvis is copying him. Get me the record. I get the one called Here's Richard. I put it on. It blows my mind. It's unbelievable because that's the real. It's unbelievable. So I learn every song on there, and I become a Little Richard fan. And then some of the other albums, and then later on, I had Little Richard play on a BTO album. I don't know if you know that story. He played on Take It Like a Man and Stay Alive.
No, I didn't know that.
And that is an incredible story. So Little Richard has played Vancouver many times. I've gone to see him because I love him. He's a wild guy. It was terrifying to go see him because after the show, he'd invite you to his apartment upstairs. And I'd be staying at the Royal York Hotel, like Toronto, in the big hotel in downtown Vancouver, with a piano in his room. And they have a bunch of black guys in there, and they bring up hookers. And they have a thing called the circle jerk. And I don't know what this is. I mean, this is a guy from Winnipeg. they all have hookers dancing and they're doing a circle jerk. And I go, holy cow, I got to get out of here. This is too weird for me. But Little Richard is legendary. Then I see him play a couple more times. And then I'm down in LA and I'm recording. And I called Bruce Allen. I say, man, I have a couple of songs. Take It Like a Man that's very Little Richard. And boy, if I could get him. And Bruce Allen says, he played here last week. Let me call Derek, who owned the club, the Cavern Club, and see if we can get Little Richard's phone number. So Bruce called me back and says, I got Little Richard. He's coming in on Monday morning. Are you kidding? No, I got Little Richard. Get your songs ready. So I mixed the whole album. I've got Take It Like a Man and Stay Alive ready for Little Richard. They're in guitar keys. They're in the key of A. Little Richard's brother, Peyton, keeps calling me on Sunday saying, Richard's getting ready. What key are the songs in? They're in the key of A. The chords are A, D, and E. Duh. Thank you. Phone's back. Are you sure the songs are in A? Yes, they're in A. I say, I can send you a cassette, but you're out in Riverside. I'm in LA. By the time you get a cassette, you're coming in here tomorrow. How tough is it? So he's supposed to be in like 11 in the morning. 11 comes, 12 comes, 1 o'clock comes. No Richard, no Richard. I've got my Gretsch plugged in. It's into a thing with a tape slap on it. And I'm playing Chet Atkins' greatest hits, fingerstyle stuff, waiting for Little Richard. Suddenly I hear, all right, let's rock and roll. And it's Little Richard coming in with an entourage. So I do his enter song. I've seen it many times playing on stage. Do, 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 do. I start to play Lucille. And he comes and he goes, that's it, I'm going home. Go, what's the matter? He said, I'm not doing Lucille for some white guy. I'm not going to sing on that song. Said, no, this is your entry song where you came in on stage at the Cave. Oh, the Cave, yeah. And you bumped your piano with your legs and you came up playing it. Oh, okay. So I say, okay, Richard, here's the song. And I play the song. He's in the control room with me and he says, what key are they in? And I say, excuse me, I've got a bad cold. They're in A. He says, I can't do it. I want to go home. Meanwhile, he's brought out a big square white case, like your girlfriend or wife would bring out, like a makeup case. He lifts up the lid, there's a mirror, and he's doing his eyes and he's curling his eyebrows and he's doing his hair. He's wearing an orange suit with a big silver R on it with a fucking cape on. He looks like Superman or super black guy, whatever. And so I say, okay, Richard. Will you do me a favor? Just sit beside me at the piano and let's just jam a little bit, okay? Let's loosen up. So I go to the engineer, Mark Smith, and I say, get a VSO, put it in the machine, get a tuner, slow it down, take it from A down to G. I asked Little Richard to play. He plays in G and C. He doesn't play in A. He can't do a D. He can't do an E. He can't do an F sharp minor. He can do an E minor because it's very close to a G. I'll sit beside him. When I tell you, push record. So Little Richard doesn't know we're doing this. I'm sitting beside him. I got a Fender guitar, a little tweed amp, and I'm sitting beside Richard. I'm going, G, G, C, D. And he's playing all his stuff, and it's great. And when it's all done, Mark Smith goes like through the glass. Yes. So I say, okay, Richard, I have a surprise for you. I don't want any surprises. I said, no, this is really a good surprise. We go to the control room. I say to Mark Smith, take out the VSO, get it back to A. When you bump up a piano, it sounds phenomenal because it's brighter. Elton John used to do it all the time, slow the tape down, speed it up, and you get a great piano sound. It plays back, and Little Richard goes, that is amazing. Who's playing the piano? And I say, it's you. And he goes, what? I said, you just played it. He said, but I didn't play to it. I said, I was sitting beside you telling the chord changes, and you did that, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. And he says, what key am I playing in? I say A, and he goes, hallelujah. And he falls to his knees, and he's bending down. Randy Bachman taught me to play in the key of A. He's telling me, Peyton, I can play an A. Peyton, I can play an A. He's going nuts. I say, okay, one more song. Stay Alive. Same thing. I go out there and I do the same thing with the amp. He plays on it. We fly it in. I've got Little Richard on 2 songs. The king of rock and roll. Then he played Vancouver 6 months later. I got a crown made with velvet and all things that said, to the real king of rock and roll, my buddy, Little Richard, and gave him the crown. He was a great guy. And he wouldn't take any money. He was just really a cool guy.
Wow.
And basically the Black Elvis If it wasn't for him, Elvis wouldn't have had those songs. Elvis would have been Blue Moon of Kentucky. Elvis was such a messenger of bluegrass, doo-wop, and early rock and roll, and putting it all together, and then the gospel stuff in there. So it was like a really an incredible time.
Yeah, I've always kind of considered Chuck Berry
Me
the
too.
wearer of that crown. He's the real
Yeah,
king of rock and
yeah,
roll. No Chuck Berry, no Elvis, no anything else.
I agree. Every single song of Chuck Berry is a masterpiece of lyrics.
It is.
Unbelievable. Mick Jagger is very similar. You listen to the lyrics in "Sympathy for the Devil" or "Brown Sugar." Incredible lyrics, just really incredible that you'd think you'd never put this in a song. So it's just amazing. But Chuck Berry made up words like, as I was motivating over the hill, I saw Maybelline in a Coupe de Ville. That is amazing. But when you heard it, you never heard it before, but you knew exactly what he was saying.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Oh yeah, he
Uh,
painted pictures like coffee colored Cadillac and a mounted
yeah,
Cavalier. It's like
yeah,
I didn't even know what's a mounted Cavalier, but I could picture it.
yeah. And I did a lot of shows with Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Jerry Lee Lewis, and just I really enjoyed seeing these guys, playing with these guys. They were the godfathers of rock and roll.
Yeah, for sure. It's like meeting your heroes.
Yeah,
It's like me talking to you.
cool.
Okay, so the next album you listed was the Beatles' first album. Is this with the Beatles or Meet the Beatles? I know that the depending on which country you were in, it was different cover.
Well, because we got all our stuff from England, we got the first Beatles album with 14 songs on it. And what was great about the Beatles, they changed the world for one simple thing. Up to them, it was a lead singer and a backup band. There was an Elvis, a Cliff Richard, a Gene Vincent, an Eddie Cochran, and a bass and a drum backing him. Suddenly, the drummer gets to sing a song or two. Every drummer sang every Ringo song. The lead guitar, who was me, got to sing every George song. That's why I wanted to do the George album. I had already sung all the George's songs on stage, and the other guys in the band do the Lennon and McCartney songs. So that was like really a fantastic thing that the Beatles did. And to think that they recorded that album as a live show in one take, they did two takes, I think, back to back. But they included stuff that your mother would like and your grandmother would like. They all love Till There Was You. They all love A Taste of Honey. Meanwhile, they throw in, There's a Place and a couple other cool songs and Love Me Do. And so they do an album that when you're playing it and loud, your parents and grandparents are saying, they're not saying turn that crap off. They're going, can you turn that up? There were birds on the hill, and I never saw. They're singing along with the Beatles. It was fantastic. And then obviously every Beatle album after that was another milestone of great. Then they really got into songwriting and stopped doing less and less cover songs and started writing more of their own. But the groundbreaking one, I think, was the first one that really introduced them to the world.
Okay. Next, Led Zeppelin one, an album that's very dear to me.
Well, I met Jimmy Page in '67 in Cleveland at the Art Institute there. I was with the Guess Who. We had just been in England, and we had a song called This Time Long Ago, which is that Purple album that's part of the Guess Who thing. We recorded that in England at Regent Sound. And we go to play this gig at the Cleveland Art Institute. We're sharing a dressing room, which is a classroom, with the new Yardbirds. And it's Jimmy Page. And so there's like a few Yardbirds there, and Jimmy Page is there. And they're getting like $1,200. I mean, they were like playing to get to eat. And he said, can I play your guitar? I had a Rickenbacker guitar. I said, sure, can I play yours? So he gives me his telly, and I'm playing his telly.
The
And
Dragon Telly?
yeah. Yeah. And he's playing my Rickenbacker. And then when it's all done, we do another gig with him that 2 days later in Cleveland. And he says, that's it, we're going home. And he has a guy with him who they call Percy, who I didn't know was Robert Plant. He's hanging around. And he says, where do you live? I said, Canada, Winnipeg. He said, we're going to Vancouver Island. We have a friend there named Bob Smith. He's got a big cabin. We're going to the cabin on Vancouver Island with some amplifiers. We're going to put together a new band. Do you want to come and try out for the band? I said, no, I already have a band. I'm in the Guess Who. And I don't want to move to England. I don't want to do this and that. I'm already with a band, okay? And so they come and do the thing on the island. Then a little while later, I hear that he's got the band together. They're called Led Zeppelin. and we go and do the Seattle Pop Festival, and Zeppelin are on all 3 days. The Guess Who are on all 3 days, but is the most amazing pop festival of all time, and never recorded because it was so wonderful. 3 days of sunshine, and when you look at it, the reason Woodstock was filmed, it was a disaster. There was not enough toilets, not enough water. It was raining. Everybody was stuck. There was traffic jam. People were starving. It was all the newspaper, all the news footage was filmed that. Nobody filmed the Seattle Pop Fest. It was amazing. But I have the poster. And several years ago, I was in LA. I'm sorry, in London. I go to the Roundhouse, and Robert Plant's playing there with his own band. And after I see him in a dressing room, hey, Robert, I have something for you. He says, what? I said, how would you like the poster from the Seattle Pop Festival? He goes, what? I said, yeah, it showed that you were on there with Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Janis Joplin, The Byrds, Led Zeppelin, The Guess Who, Chicago Transit Authority. They were CTA then. Ike Tina Turner, The Byrds, the Flying Burrito Brothers, on and on. He said, yes, yes, I'd love it. And I did the same thing with Jimmy Page. Would you like a copy of this? Which is really cool. I want to show everybody that I played with Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and everybody. A few years ago, asked my friend Gretsch to go and open the Gretsch Museum in Savannah, Georgia, and it's with Bo Diddley. So I take the same poster and I give it, show it to Bo, and I say, now you can go show your kids you played with Led Zeppelin and the Who and the Guess Who and all this stuff. So I'm showing each generation of guy that they played with the other guys, and they all really loved that whole idea. It was really a fun thing to do that and connect them all together.
Wow, that's a great story. I am just my head is exploding that you were actually asked to try out for Led Zeppelin. It would have been a completely different band, a two guitar band, and the
It
Guess
would.
Who would have ended.
And
And
I was asked to join a band called Six Bridges, which ended up being Emerson, Lake and Palmer. When I was leaving the Guess Who, I played the last gig at the Fillmore. I went to RCA the next day. I was walking in the hall, and they had gotten an album of mine, Axe, which is a guitar instrumental album. I'm trying to do a Chet Atkins album, and it wasn't really a solo album; it was just a guitar thing. And this guy stopped me in the hall, and he said, "I wrote all the charts for Six Bridges, which is Keith Emerson and the Nice. I wrote all the symphony charts. We're trying to find a guitar player, and we listened to your album, and you play some jazz, you play some classical, and you play some rock. Do you want to come to London and try? We need a guitar player." The guy never shows up. I said, I can't. I live in Winnipeg. I got a wife. I got kids. I'm not doing any of this stuff. So I never went there. And they stayed as being a trio. And it could have been Emerson, Lake, Palmer, and Bachman. I don't know. So these are things in the road that come up that you can't jump on another train when you're on your own train. We didn't play Woodstock. After we played Seattle Pop Festival, we went to record in Chicago, the American Woman album. I get a call, come to Woodstock, everybody's coming there. I look on the news, it's a disaster. I said, we're not going to come there, it's a wreck. Joni Mitchell's not even going. Neil and the guys are on stage, but they do acoustic. It's a train wreck. We don't go to Woodstock. We don't play Woodstock. We don't come Woodstock famous. But we're in the studio and we do the American Woman album. And if we had gone to Woodstock, we might not have done that album, and the song might not have turned out like it turned out. I just heard on the radio a little while ago. It's an incredible song. It starts out with my Gretsch with a tremolo on it, and then comes in my viola sounding guitar sitting on top of the whole track. And Burton's vocal on that is really, really Robert Plant kind of thing. I also have Led Zeppelin doing a sound check in Madison Square Gardens where they launch into American Woman. It's great.
really,
Yeah,
wow, I've actually heard Burton because Burton and I were hanging out back in like 2016, 2017 when he was living here in LA,
yeah,
and I heard him do an imitation of Robert Plant once, and
yeah,
it was spot on. And I mean, I'm sure you know this, but being in a room with Burton Cummings 5 feet away when he's singing, he can project his voice.
yeah,
Just wow, what a wonderful voice that guy has.
yeah,
Um, Jimi Hendrix experience. Are you experienced?
yeah.
Okay. How did that come to your attention?
Well, in my 60s years, hanging out in New York with Phil Ramone and all these guys, at night I'd go down to the Village. I'd go to the Cafe Wah, And I'd see comedian and the bitter end or the bitter line, whatever, the bottom end, bitter line, whatever. And see comedians, see people playing. I saw Janice Ian. She was so young. She was 15. Her mother brought her in with a babysitter, and she did 17. I thought this song is a great song. And so you see all this stuff going on there. And I go by this other place and I hear a band and I go and it's Jimi Hendrix, but he's not Jimi Hendrix. He's wearing like a James Brown suit, a shiny suit that's kind of like shiny blue, like a fly, like a horse fly,
Right.
shiny blue. And he's playing a little Richie Valens kind of harmony guitar. And so I look at him, he's pretty good. And that's that with that. Then when we go to England in 67, it's like, this guy has arrived. This guitar god has arrived. Clapton is shaking in his boots. His name is Jimi Hendrix. He used to be Jimmy James. I said, I think I've seen this guy. So we go to see him in LA, in London. He releases Hey Joe and Stone Free. We bring it back to Winnipeg. And just before we leave, his album comes out, Are You Experienced? We bring it back to Winnipeg. And we say to the radio station guys, this is going to be huge antic. This is ginormous. It's incredible. This guy is going to change the world. We play it and they go, are you kidding? We can't play the guitar going wild and feedback and drums going crazy, like a jazz drummer. And he was a jazz drummer. He played with Georgie Fame right in the Blue Flames. And I said, you'll be playing it. And a year later, they were playing every track on the album. So that was another ground, an earth-shaking album. That started the British power trio, which then Clapton did with Cream. Zeppelin basically were a power trio, guitar, bass, and drums with Robert Plant singing. The Who were a power trio. And so it just started this whole great movement. That's why when I did Heavy Blues, I wanted to be a power trio. I wanted to just be me, bass, and drums. And I happened to find, I went to see Tommy in Stratford, Ontario. And I'm sitting behind Pete Townsend. And I tap Pete on the shoulder and say, hey, Pete, how do you like the drummer? He said, the drummer's amazing. I got to meet the drummer. I said, the drummer's a girl. He said, can't be. A girl can't play that way. I said, the drummer's a girl. He showed me the program. He said, Dale Brendan. I said, it's Dale Ann Brendan. They left out her middle name. We go backstage after the show. It's Dale Ann Brendan. He goes, how do you know that? She said, well, I have a drum school. I wrote her all the drum charts for Keith. So I played the same every night. He goes, you're amazing. I said to her, I want you to play an album with me. Great. I find a bass player who's beautiful and tall. She played in a band called Canyon Ladies, and they did all Joni Mitchell and Crosby, Stills and Nash stuff. And she studied bass with Esmeralda Spalding in Montreal, stand-up bass, but she plays a normal rock and roll bass, and she's wearing a John Entwistle t-shirt. I go, you like John Entwistle? I love John Entwistle. Okay, I want you to be in my band. So I get these two women together they had never played together. And I go with a bunch of blues songs, and Kevin Shirley says to me, you don't want to do Jimmy Reed. You don't want to do these songs that have been done and done and done. You can't do any better than Stevie Ray Vaughan or the Thunderbirds or Colin James or Jeff Healey or whatever. Write your own song. So I said, okay, I'll write a song. I wrote a song every day, went in, played it. We went through it once, we rearranged stuff, and we did it live off the floor. It was fantastic to work that way with Kevin Shirley. Just right off the. When was it? I don't know. 10 years ago. It's called Heavy Blues. It started to take off in England. I had all the blues stations playing it. I got a gig at the Running Man Festival. Blues Magazine was kind of like classic rock magazine. Featured the whole album and played a track every day in their office. They loved the album. On the album, and then Kevin Shirley calls me and says, my next door neighbor played on a track. Okay. Who's your next door neighbor? Joe Bonamassa. Oh, okay. I said, well, look at, should I get a couple of guys? He said, sure. So on this album, Heavy Blues, there's Peter Frampton, Robert Randolph, Neil Young, Jeff Healey, Scott Henderson from the Rival Sons or whatever they're called. Do you know Scott Henderson?
Heard the name, yeah.
Yeah. There's 7 incredible guitar players on this album. And when you play it, it's like, holy cow. This is a guitar Bible of songs written from scratch that sound like old songs with me putting it together with this power trio. And then the solo in the middle is some incredible thing. Robert Randolph's solo on the slide guitar is amazing. Peter played on, Frampton played on Heavy Blues. And I said, look, just play on the whole track and I'll cut it and edit it. He played so great, I left the whole thing.
Wow.
I put a big solo in the middle. I said to Robert Randall, I'm just going to make the solo 4 times longer, and I'll go and pick and choose. He played so great, I just left the whole solo in. So if you can get a copy of Heavy Blues and play it. And then I had a contest that said, if you could play any better than Peter Frampton, download this song, Heavy Blues, without Frampton's guitar, play guitar to it, send it in to me. You could come and win a Gibson guitar, and you could play my opening gig in Seattle or New York. I mean, in Toronto or New York or in LA. And had all these guitar players send me in thousands and thousands of them in their underwear, playing late at night with their parents are asleep, playing in Heavy Blues and sending it to me in. And a couple of guys won, and they came and did the show with me. It was really a phenomenal thing. But my manager wasn't into it. When you have a manager that doesn't share your vision and you have to push him and prod him, it just doesn't happen.
Wow, that's too bad. That's crazy. It
But it's
sounds like
never.
it sounds like an incredible album.
It's one of the best things I've ever done. You send me your address, I'll send you a bunch of stuff.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Crosby, Stills, and Nash first album.
Stunning album. I was a big fan of Buffalo Springfield. When Neil put my name on Buffalo Springfield 2, that was like the thrill of my life. Burton and I wrote No Time to be like Stephen Stills. Um, I love Stephen Stills. What he did, that whole album is basically him. I think he played organ, all the bass, all the guitars, sang a lot of the songs. They had Dallas Taylor on drums, and that was it. It's a masterpiece of an album. And he was smart enough to go and get a Graham Nash song, a David Crosby song, and some songs of his, and it's unbelievable. A great, great, great album. Unfortunately, they couldn't play live, so they got Neil in the band, and that was great. I was hanging out with Neil at the time, and he kept leaving me because I was at his house. I've got to go and have a meeting with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I'm holding out to be part of the name. I want to be added. I don't want to be a side man. I want to be Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. Good luck on that. He got it. He got it. So, yeah,
There's no keeping Neil down.
right.
You also listed Buffalo Springfield 1.
Well, that was an amazing song because Neil came back to Winnipeg, called me up. We went to the radio station, and he played it. The radio station is great. They got the big speakers there. And he plays the song, and I go, oh, man, that voice is incredible. That's great. Who's that voice? Oh, it's Stephen Stills. That voice is incredible. Who's that? It's Richie Furay. And then comes on a song that goes, out of my mind, and I just can't take it anymore. And I go, who is that? And he says, it's me. And I go, what? Are you singing? He said, yeah, I'm singing. It doesn't matter what you sound like, as long as you say the words properly. Have you heard of Bob Dylan? I said, yeah, well, he can't sing either, but he writes great lyrics and he pronounces the words properly. And so I'm now a singer. And by the way, Randy, you can be a singer. So I started singing.
So you started singing because Neil Young told you that.
Yeah, don't be afraid. If you have a weird voice, it's great. Mick Jagger's voice is really weird the first time you hear it. It's like, what? Weird. Hendrix's voice, weird. Paul McCartney's voice, good. John Lennon's voice, good. You know what I mean? It was some guys have a strange voice. And Rod Stewart, unbelievable. Becomes their trademark. So I started to sing Unafraid and also to write songs like George Harrison in my range, which is since you've gone away this morning, you'll be back again tonight, telling me the same notes over and over and over and over. Because you like me too much and I like you, you know, that thing. That's one of my favorite songs by George.
That is
I
my
did
favorite.
I did an incredible, I didn't even know how I did the guitar chords on that. That da 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 da. It's just really, really a cool thing I did.
Yeah, it is. And when I first heard it, I was like, "What? Is this a George Harrison song? I'm not familiar with it." And it was the way that you interpreted it, and the guitar part, that the intro to it, that I
Yeah.
thought was brilliant. Because I've always loved your jazz sensibility. I mean, I loved what you did in the Guess Who. I love what you did in BTO. But um, and I've said this before, you have a very jazz sensibility, that whole Chet Atkins finger picking style thing, and
Yeah.
you brought it to that. And I don't think the Beatles are sacred, that they shouldn't be reinterpreted. I thought that was the best thing I'd heard Beatles related in decades.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, I mean it was really a great album. I am going to make sure that Chris Carter gets a copy of it, because
Okay.
I'd love to hear that on the air. Um, Two more albums. You listed Meet the Shadows.
Right. Well, the Shadows were a big influence on us, and I didn't really like the Ventures because we got the Shadows first, and the Shadows was meticulously recorded, a great, great acoustic guitar, the first Fender bass in London, the first Fender Stratocaster in London, and a great drummer. They did Apache, they did Man of Mystery, they did great instrumental, and then they backed Cliff Richard. This is our ideal band. So this is what we wanted to be in the guest. So we were the Reflections, and we had Chad Allen, who was our Cliff Richards, and he would sing the song. We would do the instrumental, and it was just we were the Kings in Winnipeg. We were the top band. Neil Young and the Squires copied us. They came to all our gigs, and they're trying to follow us around and do what we were doing. So the Meet the Shadows was like really a great album. And 50 years, well, maybe 5, 6 years ago, was their 50th anniversary. Previous to that, Sting is putting out an album on his label. I think it was called Panacea Records, a tribute to Hank Marvin, who's the lead guitar player in the Shadows. And he's got a track by Peter Green, Peter Frampton, Brian May. And he calls me and he says, could you get Neil Young and the two of you do a song, a Hank Marvin song? I said, sure. So I call Neil. Me and my son Tal fly down. Tal plays drums. Me and Neil play guitar. Then we add bass. And we do a song on the Shadows album. So I called Neil. I said, look, the Shadows are doing a 50th anniversary. They want to meet you. You play just like Hank Marvin. So do I. My solo in You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet is like, it's the Shadows. And he said, okay, we'll come. I said, okay, there's 4 days at the Hammersmith Odeon. And then they're going on the road to like the Hammersmith in Edinburgh or whatever. So I'm all set. I get all set with Bruce Welch and Hank Marvin. And the day we're supposed to fly in, Neil calls me and he says, my son Ben had a relapse. His son Ben is a special needs guy. And I have to take him to the hospital. I can't come to London. I said, okay, I understand. So I went alone, hung out with the Shadows, got them to autograph my guitar, my amp, and everything. Neil was then playing London again, and I brought the Shadows to see him. So he connected there because we both loved Hank Marvin on guitar. Every Neil Young solo is Hank Marvin. Every one of my solos is a very simple melodic line.
Interesting. And finally, I think you listed Yes. I'm assuming the first Yes album.
I don't think I put Yes.
Oh, okay. Then that was probably your publicist just answering yes. Okay, then we've got him. What did you? Yeah, 10 albums. Wonderful.
I put Tapestry because I think it's a fabulous album.
Oh yes, Tapestry. I missed that one.
I mean, I was a fan of Carole King's when she was writing, Locomotion and stuff like that. And when she had enough balls, and if you go and see her Broadway show, you see what she did. She left it all behind and went to LA and suddenly became a singer. And not only that, became bigger than anyone who had ever done her songs. I mean, you make me feel like a natural woman, and some of her songs are just phenomenal. And I remember when that came out, I think Lou Adler discovered her, and he went and made a deal with Herb Rappaport and Jerry Moss to handle his record label. And that thing came out; it sold millions of copies, and it just got re-released about 10 years ago again. Everybody bought it again. It's just a great sing-along album. I also left out Sweet Baby James, which I love because it's a folky thing, and his voice is so honey and smooth, and he plays such great guitar. And I'm a Steamroller Baby, and I love Sweet Baby James. I just love that song. Fire and Rain. There's great songs in there.
Oh, that's funny. Steamroller. That's my favorite James Taylor song
Oh,
on there. Which is every time I hear that, I think of Sledgehammer for some reason.
oh yeah.
That's incredible, Randy. I will send my address to your publicist. Whatever you've got coming out, I would love to help you promote it. We'll
Great.
Put it like front and center on Goldmine Magazine. I love everything you do, and thank you so much for your time. I value you so much.
Thanks for coming back to this. It's great.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. All right, Randy.
Send me the address. Okay. Bye bye.
I will. Thanks. Bye bye.